there is an issue with Shakur Stevenson versus Joe Cordina. Somebody duck somebody here. And it's looking a little Shakur Stevenish. Let's talk.
Straighter, not roundhouse right hand.
And that's what we've been talking about. The straight shot is the one where he gets leverage on it.
I don't want to kill
Pull
somebody
back
for
a little bit.
seconds.
Nah, I want a body on my record.
Now, I want to see you fight motherfuckers. I do. All right? I'm with you. I'm with you. As long as you're trying to fight the great, the best competition.
In April of 2022, Shakur Stevenson versus Oscar Valdez for the WBC and WBO unified title. Shakur Stevenson beat that man. And when Shakur Stevenson beat that man, he said he wants all the belts at 130. Now, at this time, Shakur Stevenson was the WBO, the WBC, the lineal 130-pound champion. The other two belts belonged to Roger Gutierrez, who didn't have a fight yet, but he ended up fighting later on this year, around the same time that Shakur Stevenson fought. He ended up fighting Hector Garcia and lost his title. Konichiwa Agawa had a fight already lined up with Joe Corona, six-pack. Shakur Stevenson kept talking about how he wants to unify and he wants to be undisputed and that's what he wants and yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. So when he was doing that, Joe Corona six-pack was like, man, the unification with Shakur Stevenson would be massive, right? But he also said, it has been amazing to hear what Shakur has been saying, but of course, I have got a job to do first on Saturday. If I don't do the business and get the IBF belt, everything else goes away. So what he was saying was, man, I'm loving what Shakur is talking about. I'm loving it, man, because that's going to give me an opportunity to fight for a unification, a big name in a unification, a big bag. It's going to give me that opportunity to take care of my family, yada, 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 right? All that weird shit, or not weird, but, you know, reality shit. I put it that way. All the reality shit is weird to me. Because it's like, bro, whatever, bro. Just fucking fight who's in front of you. But whatever. I understand him because he's the one fighting and he's the one getting paid. So I understand him. So that's why he was saying that. He wasn't calling out Shakur. He was just saying, I'm glad Shakur is saying this because that a lot of fighters say things and then they don't do anything, right? So I'm glad he's speaking it. He's speaking that he wants undisputed. You know, he's pushing for unifications. If I get a belt, that puts me in line for a big payday. So after the fight happens, all right, Konichiwa Agawa, Konichiwa gets knocked the fuck out. Right? He gets stopped. Motherfucking Joe Corona six-pack becomes the IBF champion. Shakur Stevenson immediately tweeted, told y'all he's the best fighter at 130 from England. I would love to come to England for some smoke though, champ. Congrats. At Joe Corona. He said this the night of the fight. As soon as this man won, he said this. He had no problem. The response from Joe Corona was, respect, bro. Enjoy my break and we'll talk soon for sure. It was all cordial, y'all. It was all cordial. Shakur Stevenson now turned his eyes from the Roger Gutierrez fight and a unification with him to set his eyes fully on Joe Cordina. I'm game. Unification is unification. Stylistic fight was from a guy who throws straight shots. He has really good footwork. He's quick. He's fast. He's got a little pop to it. Hey, that's a good fight. At this time at 130, it's a good fight. It's a unification. I'm game. No problem. So time goes on. Now that this man has set in his way that he is fighting Joe Corona six-pack on fight night Eddie Hearn had this to say.
World right now with that chance of beating
I don't see anybody in the world with a better chance of beating Shakur Stevenson than Joe Cordina. That's what Eddie Hearn said. They asked Joe Cordina the same thing. Eddie Hearn and Joe Cordina were right next to each other. They were interviewing Eddie Hearn and they were interviewing Joe Cordina at the same time, but just two different interviewers. That was one. This is what Joe Cordina said.
Let's talk about that. Eddie did say back, he did mention Shakur Stevenson. I mean, the unification is, I mean, Gutierrez, I don't know, he's fought once in the last 2 years, I believe, or he's fought last year. He's not fought in a long time. But we don't know what he's up to, but the Shakur Stevenson, like, it does make sense for that unification. Every fighter that becomes world champion wants that unification, but you do have mandatories in Rakhimov, maybe Selfie Barrett. If you get a voluntary defense, that's quite a tasty fight because he won tonight. But what are you thinking right now? I know it's immediate, you're fresh, and you want to go into the after party and relax, but what's your initial thoughts right now going into the future?
If, like I said, I've ticked the box of me being a world champion. I want to secure my family. So if I'm going to make big money, they're in the unification fights. So yeah, if I was to look ahead, which I don't really want to, I want to enjoy the moment, but if I was to look ahead, it'd be for a unification, stuff like that. But like I said, it's too early to be talking about next fights. I just want to enjoy the moments. I'm a world champion now, and I'm going to enjoy every little bit of it.
So he wasn't calling for any smoke, man. What the man said is, listen, bro, I just won. If I'm gonna get these big fights, you know, because I ticked the box now, I'm now a champion. If I'm gonna get big money fights and secure the bag for my family, if I'm gonna get these now, that's the unification. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna enjoy my family right now, and then we're gonna get it popping. Basically, what he said in a nutshell. I don't understand the rest of this shit now, because Shakur Stevenson's talking about how he's willing to go to the UK to fight this man. He's willing to do this and he's willing to do that. And he wants all the smoke. And I'm game. I really am game. But, you know, it started to come off real capper-ish from Shakur. Because, you know, after this man enjoyed his time, he started to say, hey, Shakur, what's up, man? What's up, bro? We doing this or what, man? You know, and then Shakur started to get all the disrespectful talk and, you know, you're not on my level and you're this and you're a bum and blah, 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 yada, yada. Then he started talking about how don't nobody want to fight him and start talking about how he's going to have to move up to 135 if he can't get no smoke. And Joe Cordina was like, hey, man, I want to fight you. Raised his hand. What you mean don't nobody want to fight you? I want to fight you. Shakur Stevenson says, patience, Joe. Your time is coming. Keep my belt warm until then. This was in June now. Now, as you can continue doing it, shout to my brother KO. Because KO is like, hey, man, why are you talking about guys at 135? Why are you talking about Tank Davis? Why are you talking about fighting, you know, Lomachenko or maybe Devin Haney? Why are you talking about these guys, bro? The best matchup is for you versus Joe Cordina. Why are you talking about these other guys? Why are you talking about fighting up at lightweight? Fight Joe Cordina, bro. This is knockout. KO was pushing this. The video was, as you see, it's right there. KO was pushing. It's like, bro, what is you doing? Why are you talking about going to 135? You said you want undisputed at 130. You're right there. Why are you talking about this? And now you're saying, telling Joe Corona to be patient. But you said you wanted undisputed. What is he being? He is now saying, what's up now? What do you mean? Be patient now. What the hell are you talking about, bro? So time goes on. KO had already put this man on blast. Shakur Stevenson comes out and says, I don't know what's making Joe Corona so confident, but I swear I can't wait to smoke dude. You can't wait to smoke him. He's asking you what's popping.
How long until you were hungry for more then? Hungry for a bigger fight and your next fight?
You've seen Shakur, I know Shakur's been coming out recently and saying I've been calling him out for shouting his name. I admit, as you know, I've never shouted no one's name. So for me, I was after the fight because I got something he wants. He also got something I want. And I said, yeah, let me have my break and we'll talk soon. And then he's got his man to take care of. I got my man anyway. And then he's organising another fight, but he was saying like this is the only fight I'm making in the division. So yeah, I was hungry for that fight. I've accepted his sort of his challenge, if you want to call it that. But whether it's him or Roger Gutierrez, obviously I've got to take care of my mandatory, and then that's what I want next.
I don't understand the problem, bro. I don't understand the problem, and yet he continued. That was in July. He kept going. They kept going back and forth. And Joe Corona's like, "Yo, man, what's up, man? Listen, this is you. I'm not trying to disrespect you. He was very respectful. He continued to be respectful. I'm not no disrespect, nothing like that. You said that nobody want to fight you. That's not true. I'll fight you. You said you wanted to unify. I want to unify. I'm not calling you out. I'm just agreeing to what you said. This is what you said you wanted. I'm not calling you out. I'm saying, hey, man, yes, let's do this." So they asked him again in August. He had another interview. This is what he had to say.
Special night interview, and I know you said then you wanted a week, enjoy it, and then think about your future plans. Have you thought about your future plans?
Yeah, obviously after after me and Shakur been going back and forth Twitter this last week, saying, Twitter saying I've been shouting his name, which I think it's I've never shouted his name. He shouted my name, told me I'm after the fight, which I understand what I'm going to fight with somebody else. Honestly, got someone else. So I accepted. I said, let me have a break and come back to you. In the meantime, obviously, he's got to fight his man. I got to fight mine. Regardless of anything else, he's trying to make another fight when I see him. It's what you said. So I put a laugh face there. It was funny. I said, "Will you making another fight?" I said, "I thought it was the wrong fight to make. Your wins." So, cut long story short, we went back and forth. It's a fight that should happen if you don't move up to 135. He's going on about he wants a legacy best champion. But if he's going legacy and not 12, then he'll be fighting for a belt of 130, not more. Chasing a big 130, 135, chasing all the big boys. Because that's just money up there. Yeah, listen, it's a fight I want. But in the meantime, I'm going to take care of my mandatory. Which is record.
I know people like me have spent years trying to get you to not call people out, but talk about other potential future fights, and you're always quite respectful in that sense. But it seems like Shakur maybe has lit a fire in you, and that's definitely the fight you want going forward.
No, there's one thing I've always said: once I win a world title, then I've earned my right to talk about it. But it's still not my style to be shouting out people and disrespecting people. I always show respect. I'm a 30-year-old man. I've done all that shit when I was a kid. And he just goes on Twitter and it's like don't be wrong, he's like, I'm not saying anything else. But it's like he goes on Twitter for reassurance. For me, it's laughable.
Which is the truth. The man gets on Twitter and expects everybody to just kiss his ass and I'll talk about how he's the greatest fighter to ever walk God's green earth. And if you don't do that, then he's got a beef with you. Joe Corona said, bro, you said this is the only fight to make. So everybody was saying it. Salute to my brother KO. Everybody was saying it, bro. Everybody who watches boxing, who presses for undisputed and big fights, that was the fight, bro. That was the fight to make. That was the one. That was a 3-belt unification fight. And Joe Corona was like, bro, why are you talking about making other fights? And the fights that he was talking about making was at 35. Why are you talking about them if the only fight to make is me and you? I'm available, you're available. That's the only fight to make. Why are you talking about anybody else? But it goes on. So I'm sitting here and I'm looking through all of these things and I'm just like, wait, okay, bro. So motherfucker Joe Corona's getting pissed. Now he's starting to go a little bit heavy. Listen what he had to say.
We had back and forth previously on Twitter with Shakur Stevenson. He's now gone up to 135. A lot of people talk about Shakur, especially recently, as being an incredibly avoided fighter. I mean, he's gone to 135 and not fought you at Super Feather. Are you the most avoided fighter?
I don't know. I don't know whether I'm the most avoided. I don't know. It's I can't say that. I can't say that. Nah, I wouldn't say that. I don't think anyone in the super heavyweight's avoided. I think Shakur Stevenson was. I was happily to jump in with him. I wanted to jump in with him. He had his mandatory, and then he couldn't make the weight, and then he moved up. But he done an interview not long after, and he was like, "I'm happy to do a catch weight, 133." And you don't have to do a catch weight. I come 135. It don't really make a difference to me. Yeah. But listen, I'd love to fight him in the future. He's gonna go down as an all-time great. And if you want to be great yourself, you have to mix with these type of fighters and be involved in fights like that. So for me, I'd love to fight Shakur Stevenson, and that's not even on a disrespectful thing. I want to test myself in with the best, and he's one of the best fighters on the planet.
So even after this man said the only fight to make is him and Joe Corona, and then he fought Rob Casamigos instead. And the crazy part is, Joe Corona thought that was a mandatory. It wasn't. It was a voluntary. His mandatory was O'Shaquie Foster. No, it was a voluntary. He did not fight O'Shaq. That was a voluntary. Yeah, he did not fight. He did not defend. He did not defend against a mandatory at all. He fought in a voluntary and lost his belts on in a voluntary fight. But Joe Corona thought it was a mandatory. It wasn't. It wasn't at all. So then Shakur came back talking about how, he can still make 130 after losing his belt on the scale. And that's when Joe Corona was like, bro, I'll move up to fight you. Yeah, I'll move up to fight you. Now, I have a problem with that. And Shakur Stevenson kept going in on him. This was happening in February. He went in, and then Joe Corona responded, with this.
Like I said, I ain't no big fan, man. I can fight, no problem. But you've mentioned me 3 times now, and I ain't gonna let anyone get away with that. We have to fight. We gotta fight. Obviously, if that can be sorted along the line, but first and foremost, I've got to deal with Rakimov, because without Rakimov, my clout ain't there. I need my title back, because he's gonna look, Mitch, you just got. If I, God forbid, I lost to Rakimov, he's got beat by Rakimov. Don't what I'll do to you. So I need to do a job on Rakimov, get my title back. Then I got a bit of clout. Meet him at a catch weight 133 or whatever. I'd even go up to 135. Yeah. But whether you wanted to come to Cardiff, do it in the City Stadium, do it in Cardiff Castle, do it in Vegas, I'm happy. But yeah, it's just one of them. I've got to deal with Rakimov first, and then. But I know that's there.
So he was basically letting the world know, bro, listen, bro, you doing too much talking. Now we've got to fight. Now we've got to. There is nothing else. And fight me now. Fight me now. Because, if I know I have a mandatory that I have to fight. If I fight my mandatory and I don't win, then you're not going to fight me, because you're going to say, look what he did and blah, blah, blah. So I have an issue with that, because that was the case then. I have an issue. See, the issue is he lost to Anthony Cassase. He lost to Anthony Cassase. Yeah. You could have fought that man instead of fighting Rob Casamigos. You could have fought him. Absolute facts could have fought this man. Absolute facts. But you chose not to fight him. You chose to fight Rob Casamigos. Because you can see when he fought his mandatory in Rakimov. He fought his mandatory in April 2023. You fought Rob Casamigos in a voluntary in September 2022. You could have fought O'Shaq then, but you didn't. But whatever. Your next fight was Egg Foo Young in April of 2023. He fought in April of 2023. Now, here is the problem. Here's the problem. Instead of fighting Egg Foo Young, You could have fought Joe Corona six pack. He was the IBF champion. Joe Corona six pack moving up as the IBF champion. And then you fought him. He's moving up as the IBF champion at 130. He's moving up, which means he would have a direct shot at Devin Haney. But if you fought him at 135, then you would have had an IBF direct shot at Devin Haney. I mean, these were the fighters. MC Gusto Lemon, you would have jumped over him. This is the same guy that moved up to 140 to fight Richard Hitchens. So he wouldn't have not been there. Vasil Lomachenko was fighting. He was going the WBC route. You were number 4. You tried to fight Isak Pitbull Cruz, yet you didn't send him a contract. Look who's next. Look who's next. Frank Martin is next. After Frank Martin, George Kambosos. After George, Maxie Hughes, Giovanni Cabrera, Edwin De Los Santos, Dennis Baranchik, Keyshawn Davis. You could have fought, instead of fighting Egg Foo Young, you could have fought the guy that you called out. The guy that said he'll move up to fight you. The guy that was the IBF champion and was undefeated. You could have fought him instead of fighting Egg Foo Young. You fight him instead of fighting. You was willing to fight Navarrete on his first fight, moving up to 35. Yeah, you was willing to fight him. You wanted to fight Navarrete to unify the WBO strap at 135. The vacant WBO strap, you wanted to fight Navarrete for it. You was game. Navarrete fought one time at 135. He lost to Denny's and moved right back down to 130. You could have fought Joe Corona six pack. Yeah, you could have fought Joe Corona six pack. You could have fought him, and the winner of that would have been the IBF Mando to Devin Haney. The IBF Mando, the strictest body of all 4 sanctioning bodies, which enforces its rules. There's no exceptional market value rule, though. But they enforce their rules. They absolutely enforce them. Yeah, you would have been Devin Haney's IBF Mando. Facts. But don't worry about it. There's a whole other video that I'm going to do about this man capping, when it came to that. Whole different story. But you could have fought, you could have killed 2 birds with 1 stone. You could have beat the man that you called out. This guy that you called out, who said he'll go to 135 to fight you. The IBF champion who beat Rakhimov and then moved up. And when he moved up, you could have fought him. Could have fought him. His words and yours. Y'all could have fought. He's the IBF champion, which would have put you in line for the IBF champion as the Mando, Devin Haney. But instead, you chose something else, which leads me to believe that you wanting all the smoke at 130 after you beat Oscar Valdez was absolute fucking cap. It's 100% cap. You didn't want the smoke at all. You wanted the bag. You went to 135 for the money. You didn't go for the smoke. You went for the money. And I've got no problem if you just telling the fucking truth. But you're not telling the truth. You running around this motherfucking lying talking about I want this and I want... No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You didn't. You wanted the bag. You don't give a fuck about Undisputed at all. You just want to get paid. And I'm not even mad if you're keeping it a buck and telling the truth. Listen, bro, I want the biggest fights out there. I'm game. Why the fuck do you keep lying saying you want Undisputed? Because if you're saying you want Undisputed, then you duck Joe Corona six-pack. Because you had an opportunity to fight that man at 130. And instead of fighting him, you fought Rob Casamigos and then moved up. And then a couple of weeks later, claimed that you can still make 130 no problem. A couple of weeks later. This man is absolutely full of shit, and you duck Joe Corona. Now, the only way you didn't duck Joe Corona is if you don't care about Undisputed. You just want the biggest fights. And the biggest fights was Tank, Devin, Loma. Those were the biggest fights. If that's what you cared about, is the biggest fights, then keep it a buck. Keep it a buck and say you want the biggest fights. You didn't do that. You said you want Undisputed, and you had an opportunity for it. and you didn't take it. Had you stayed at 130, you could have beat Joe Corona, became the unified IBF, WBO, and WBC champion, and then you could have fought Hector Garcia. Or just maybe, you would have got picked by Gervonta Tank Davis to move up to 135 to fight him instead of him fighting Hector Garcia. Whole other conversation. But you ducked Joe Corona. BFTB, man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. I'm out. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, subscribe to my Patreon. And if you feel like supporting me, please support me in the PayPal or the Cash App.